In 2018, Venezuela achieved something most economists thought impossible in the modern era. 130,000, 60% inflation. That's not a typo. Prices doubled every 2 weeks. A cup of coffee that cost 100 bolivars on Monday cost 200 on the following Monday. By Friday, it was 400. This wasn't war. No foreign army invaded. No natural disaster struck. Venezuela sits on the world's largest oil reserves, more than Saudi Arabia. Yet living standards collapsed by 74% between 2013 and 2023, making it one of the 5 worst economic disasters in modern history. Here's the terrifying part. Every single policy that caused this catastrophe was deliberate. They knew what would happen. They did it anyway. And now 6.8 million people have fled, making it one of the largest refugee crises ever recorded. How does the richest country in South America become so broken that people literally eat garbage to survive? It started with a choice that seemed brilliant at the time. When Hugo Chavez took power in 1999, oil prices were climbing, and he channeled billions into social programs. Education, healthcare, housing, all heavily subsidized or free. Unemployment and poverty rates were cut in half. For millions of Venezuelans, life improved dramatically. Chavez became a hero, but he made one catastrophic decision. He deepened Venezuela's oil dependency from 71% of exports in 1998 to 98% by 2013. The entire economy ran on oil revenue. When prices were high, Venezuela looked like paradise. When they fell, there was nothing holding the system up. Then in 2014, oil prices crashed. Imports collapsed from over $80 billion in 2012 to around $10 billion in 2017. Venezuela couldn't afford food, medicine, or industrial supplies. Any rational government would have cut spending, restructured, and diversified. Instead, President Maduro, who inherited power after Chavez's death in 2013, made the worst possible choice. He printed money. The money supply expanded by 20 to 30% per month. Not per year, per month. The government needed to pay for programs, but tax revenue had evaporated and the oil industry was collapsing. So they just printed bolivars. Basic economics says when you flood an economy with currency, its value drops. Prices skyrocket. Maduro knew this. His economists warned him. He printed anyway because the alternative, admitting failure, cutting beloved social programs, was politically unthinkable. The result was predictable. Inflation went from 274% in 2016 to 863% in 2017 to 130,060% in 2018. Venezuela entered a hyperinflationary death spiral. The human consequences were medieval. People searched trash bags for food. Reports emerged of citizens eating pets, zoo animals, even wildlife like anteaters and flamingos. Diseases that Venezuela had eradicated decades ago, malaria, diphtheria, measles, surged back. Malaria cases went from under 36,000 in 2009 to 414,000 in 2017. Hospitals ran out of basic supplies. Maternal and infant mortality spiked. What was once one of Latin America's most prosperous nations became a humanitarian catastrophe. The economic mechanics of hyperinflation created a vicious cycle. As prices rose, people's savings became worthless. A lifetime of work vanished. The government kept printing more money to maintain spending in inflation-adjusted terms, which accelerated inflation even faster. Workers demanded higher wages. Businesses raised prices. The government printed more. Each loop intensified the destruction. By 2019, Venezuela's per capita GDP had contracted by 61%, the largest peacetime economic collapse in recorded history. U.S. sanctions starting in 2019 worsened the crisis, but they didn't cause it. The collapse began in 2010, years before any sanctions. The root cause was purely domestic, a government that chose short-term political survival over economic reality. They maintained price controls that created shortages. They expropriated private businesses, destroying productivity. They hollowed out PDVSA, the state oil company, by replacing experienced engineers with political loyalists. Oil production collapsed from over 3 million barrels per day to under 500,000. The one industry keeping Venezuela afloat was systematically destroyed by incompetence and corruption. What makes Venezuela's story genuinely terrifying is that it proves even resource-rich nations can implode through policy alone. No war, no invasion, no natural disaster, just bad decisions compounded over years. The lesson isn't subtle. When governments prioritize ideology and political survival over economic fundamentals, entire societies can collapse within a decade. Venezuela had every advantage: oil wealth, educated population, functioning infrastructure. They squandered it all through a combination of dependency, denial, and the catastrophic decision to print money rather than face reality. Now millions have fled, and those who remain live in conditions that belong in history books, not the 21st century.